What's going on, everybody? It's Carmine from Barmine Tech, and today we're going to be working with the ZimaBoard 2. So the goal of today is if we can make a NAS that's going to come in cheaper than ones that we're able to purchase from big names like Synology, QNAP, and some of the other ones. Now, if you remember, I did a video on the ZimaBoard 2 maybe about a month or so ago on its release, and I really haven't messed with it much since. And then Icewell reached out to me, which, if you're not familiar, they're the ones who make the actual ZimaBoard, ZimaBlade, and all the other equipment. And they asked if we can make some more content with the ZimaBoard, and if there was anything that they could do to help with it. And I said, well, if you are able to send me any more of the accessories, I never got to order any of them, I'd be more than happy to work with them and make some more content. So they sent me over this PCIe card. Now, this PCIe card makes it possible that I can put two M.2 drives into this board and then have it as an add-on into my actual ZimaBoard itself. Now, I just want to clarify, they sent me the PCIe card, but I purchased the ZimaBoard 2. I just want to clear that up, that I purchased the main hardware, but the accessories was sent over by Icewell to be used during this video. Again, the goal of today's video is going to be to see if we can create a NAS on the ZimaBoard 2 that can come in cheaper than the ones available in retail. I have a feeling we're going to be able to. But let's get into it and see what we can find out. To start off, I just want to take a quick look at the ZimaBoard 2 page. I will link this down below if you are interested in maybe reading through the page and even checking one out. If we come over to the specs, there's two different options that are available, and the biggest differences are there's a difference in memory and eMMC storage. Other than that, they're going to be pretty much very similar to each other, especially coming back to the original ZimaBoard. They're both going to have two 2.5 gig NICs available. They're going to have a PCI by 3. There's going to be a mini display port, the standard barrel jack power adapter, and there was an add-on for a CPU fan. They do have that available on the site, I'm pretty sure still. But other than that, that's pretty much the big differences. Up here is just the onboard storage and the available memory. It is a pretty affordable little SBC. The base one starts in at $219 and the step up comes in at $299. Personally, I have the 832 model. I got the one with the 8 gigs of memory. Again, I will link this down below. I just want to note that we're already starting with a price of $219. Now, I want to move over to comparing to some other available NAS brands on the market. So I do want to start off over here with Synology, and I'm going to look at their most popular line, which is going to be the disk station. Of course, these are all going to be enterprise rack mounts, and for whatever reason, their website is a little bit counterintuitive. So I'm actually just going to come over here to B&H. It's a reputable reseller, and I'm going to look at what they list their NASs for Synology at. So if I come down to NAS and servers, I'm going to get all NAS, and I'm just going to filter by Synology. And over here, this looks a little bit easier to read through. So we can see they have a 4-bay, they have a 2-bay up here, they have some much larger ones. I'm going to use a 2-bay because that's going to be more comparable to what we're working with, and we're looking at about $500. And there was another 2-bay up here, over here, about $340. We can keep scrolling through here. We can set up all different kind of configurations. I'm going to call the average about $500 because that's what a Synology is going to cost. With Synology, you pay for their name, the software, and everything else. They do have much higher prices compared to some of the other brands. Another brand I want to check out is QNAP. They have a line of small business or home user equipment. I actually have a QNAP in my house. I have this one, I'm pretty sure, which is no longer made. It's actually discontinued, so that's a bummer, but that is the NAS that I have. But we can see that they do have some other options. And once again, if I come over to B&H, just to kind of get the in-between pricing, we can see over here we have another 4-bay, we're sitting at about $500. We have a 2-bay sitting at about $230, another 2-bay sitting at about $430. So it really depends on the model and the hardware that's inside of it. So I'm probably going to average the prices together again, and we're going to say about $400 to $450. Now, the last thing to keep in mind is that when you buy a NAS from a retailer, it doesn't come with drives, so they are going to be something you're going to have to add on. Which, if you're not familiar, Synology is trying to implement a plan to make it that you can only use their drives. They do have their own hard drives that they sell. They're rebranded to a Synology brand. What they're trying to implement in the software is there's going to be like a check on the actual disk to ensure that you're using a Synology drive. This has been talked about for months, and from my understanding, it came up again at the start of the year. as something that they were interested in implementing. So this could be another additional cost if you are going to go the Synology route. So over here we do have some of the Synology hard drives that are available. So this looks like a pretty basic one. And just to keep everything somewhat neutral, I'm going to use B&H again, and we can see over here we have the site. So we do have these Synology SATA drives that are available. They are kind of slow actually at 5,400 RPMs. They're 4TB drives. We're looking at $134 a drive. Probably not going to have anything smaller just because these are considered NAS drives. So typically we're going to have 4TB or higher, and that's what it's kind of looking like. Our smallest drive is going to be $134. So even if we split the difference and we say for like a 2TB, we're going to say it's like $80. Or even if you're a home user and maybe you're going to use refurbished drives, this is already increased in the costs. QNAP, to my knowledge, doesn't do this. I have a QNAP that's running Iron Wolves. They're a vendor neutral when it comes to disks, and you could use whatever you would like in there. So that's not a concern. And of course, on your ZimaBoard, you could use whatever you'd like as well. So the ZimaBoard 2, if you didn't catch, it comes with a Y splitter, and you could use 2 3.5-inch SATA drives or 2.5-inch drives, whichever ones you would prefer. And then with that PCI card, we can add on for 2 M.2 drives. Right now, I only have 1, but we can incorporate 2, and we can either make a combination of storage with 2 of the SATA drives and the M.2 drives, or we can use some for the M.2 and then the SATA. So then what we're going to do, so now that we kind of covered out all the hardware, let's go through the actual setup of the NAS per se, or network storage on the ZimaBoard 2. So when you first get into your ZimaBoard 2 after the initial setup, you're going to have a screen that's going to look somewhat like this. Over here on the left, we're going to have our storage, and this is where we can actually make our network storage. It is one of the easiest ways to make a network share or a NAS in this sense in any operating system that I've worked with. So we click on the settings, it's going to open up this window. From here we can hit start. We'll have 2 different options to either combine, so this is how we can actually make like a storage pool, or enable if you have a disk, I guess that's not being currently used. I'm going to click for this side on the left, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a RAID 1. So I'm going to make 2 different storage pools. I'm going to show you how easy it can be. So with the RAID 1, it's going to be like a mirror. So we're going to have a disk for failure. So if one dies, we should still have all of our data. I'm going to click next, and now over here I can select my disks. Now you can see over here I have a third. I'm going to leave this for a minute. These are my 2 1TB drives that I have. I'm just going to quickly name my pool. I'm going to check off that I'm aware that this is going to erase everything that's on those drives. I'm going to click create, and now it's going to create the RAID. Now this is a really simple process with the Zima OS like I mentioned, and you can see over here it's already all set. So I can click view, and I can come over here and I can see my pools all set. Now I do have one more disk that is available, and this one's going to be for some flash storage. I'm going to click over here, set up again. I'm going to click combine, and this one's just going to be a JBOD because I only have 1 disk. Now if I did have another NVMe drive in there, I can make another RAID 1, and then we can have a RAID 1 of flash storage. I'm going to select this one. It's a 256 gig drive. We're going to click next, and we'll call this Zima SSD pool. I'll say where again, create the storage, and you can see over here we're all done again. So now when we come over here, you can see that I have 2 storage pools available. I have Zima pool 1, and then I have Zima SSD pool. And over here, the RAID just getting built out on Zima Pool 1. So we just built 2 different shares on our NAS that we built out on our ZimaBoard 2 in less than 5 minutes. So let's test one of these out, and let's see how it works accessing one of them. So over here is just going to be my IP. So I'm just going to copy that. And if I bring up a new file explorer and I come over into the top and I do whack 192.168.5152/Zima attack pool 1, you can see over here it's going to prompt me to sign in. And if I do so, I'm going to come over here to our new storage pool that we just made. So I'm just going to come over here, I'm going to click new, and we're just going to put a blank text document. And if we come back, then we can actually have our text document over here. Now, same thing if we're going to come over here to our SSD pool. So I'm actually going to drop a file in because I am interested in seeing what our transfer speeds are going to be like. So I'm going to set that up and we'll be right back. So over here, I just have my ISOs folder, and in here is the Zima pool. So I want to see how long it's going to take to copy over this Ubuntu server ISO. So I'm just going to Control-C this, Control-V it, and you can see we're actually getting some really fast transfer speeds. We're getting 113 meg, which is pretty good. It's not too big of a file. It's only like 1.5 gigs, so it's not a huge file, but we are getting some pretty good transfer speeds. And if I come back over here, you can see now I have my ISO available. Now what I am interested to see is what if we want to transfer it over to the SSD pool. So I'm just going to open this back up. We're going to come back over here, and if I just drop back one folder, I can actually have my Zima SSD pool over here, and you can see now we have both open. So I want to copy from here or drop it over here. Now it is pretty much local to local, so it is pretty fast. You can see that was instant. So now we do have it available. I don't really have a good metric to test the transfer speeds right now, but we can see it is moving pretty fast between both my computer and the ZimaBoard 2. I don't have 2.5 gig networking at my house currently. I don't have a switch, so that is something that I have been looking to add into my network, but that right now would be our limiting factor for these transfer speeds. But I'm really happy with how fast that just transferred. Sometimes transferring that ISO from my NAS back to my computer could take quite a bit of time, so that was really fast and I'm really happy about that. One of the big things that I like about setting up a network storage or a NAS on the ZimaBoard 2 is that it still has the capabilities of all the other apps that are available on Zima OS. So if you're not familiar, Zima OS has an app store, and they have all these different containers that you can run right off your ZimaBoard 2. So now if you are somebody that's interested in running a media server, now you just set up your network storage. You can come over here, and I saw MB, and there's Jellyfin, and there's Plex probably in here as well. You can set that up and use that new network storage that you just got. Or maybe if you want to do some sort of image backup, you could set up image, or there's plenty more in there. And now with it being that the apps are going to run off the same device where the storage pool is, it's much easier when it comes to mapping it. We don't have to rely on any sort of network connection. It's just going to be a much smoother setup for whatever you're looking to do with it. All in all, I do feel that setting up a network storage on the ZimaBoard 2 is one of the easiest. I said it in my last video, and I still that this is the easiest way to set up any sort of network storage that I've done in all the setups that I have. So I really like how easy it is to do on the Zima OS. One thing that I do want to check out is I want to do a very rough price comparison between the big brands that we mentioned, Synology and QNAP, compared to the cost of setting up this on the ZimaBoard 2. So I did build out an Excel sheet and with just some rough numbers on it. It's nothing too crazy, but I just want to have a rough idea comparing setting up some network storage on the ZimaBoard 2 to doing on a NAS, whether it's Synology or QNAP. So I'm going to bring up that little spreadsheet and we're going to take a quick look. So we do have this up. Now, it's nothing fancy. I'm not a Excel wizard, and there's not too much to compare by, but I do just have the average cost over here. So the average cost of the Synology is about $500. The average cost of a QNAP was about $450. And the cost of the ZimaBoard 2 that I worked with was $219. I used an average cost all across for my discs, so I did just average out what the cost of my discs were. I used used drives off of eBay and then the one new NVMe, so it was about $85 in discs. Now, the only difference is that these drives that I originally had were much cheaper when I bought them. The used drives that I recently bought, about the same spec, were $100. So we would be looking at about $150 in drives. However, we're still having a massive price difference if we look over here. So if we were to go the Synology route for a 2-bay, we're going to be looking at about $585. QNAPs would be about $535. And if we're going to run with the ZimaBoard 2, it's going to be $304. Now, yes, before we get into it, there are benefits of using a Synology or a QNAP or any of the other brands. We are getting different software. We are getting different capabilities. However, we aren't getting all the possibilities of what we can do with the ZimaBoard 2 compared to running something like a retail style NAS, whether it's a Synology, QNAP, Acer Store, any of them. We are going to get some more capabilities running it on the ZimaBoard 2. Now, something you can do on the ZimaBoard 2 that you can't do on these other brands is you could flash any operating system that you want on it. So if you don't want to run Zima OS and you want to run Open Media Vault, you can. You definitely can't do that on these two brands because they typically will solder the memory chip in that holds the operating system, and it's not going to be able to be changed. If you want to run TrueNAS, you could do that on the ZimaBoard 2. Can't do it on these big brands. So these are some of the differences that we're going to have. We're going to have more availability for the third-party apps, whether it's going to be like in the container station for Synology and QNAP, or it's going to be their app store that they have on Zima OS. So we're going to have some differences back and forth, of course, hardware-wise and software-wise, but we can already see that with discs, the price is almost $200 lower than it was to buy a retail-style NAS. Personally, I've ran storage both ways. I've used a mini PC for make storage. I've used a Raspberry Pi to make storage. They work. You are going to have some issues, but I've also had issues using the NAS, so it's a mix. But personally, for me right now, for the cost of hardware and everything else, I think the ZimaBoard 2 is going to win my money because it's going to come in much cheaper. It's going to be much cheaper to operate power-wise and everything else, and its footprint for its size is going to be much smaller than running a Synology or a QNAP NAS. So that's our comparison of setting up a ZimaBoard 2 as a NAS compared to a retail style NAS like a Synology, a QNAP, or any of the other ones. Again, I want to thank Ice Whale for sending over the accessories for my ZimaBoard 2 so we can make this video. And if you are interested in checking out the ZimaBoard 2, any of their other equipment, or any of the accessories for the ZimaBoard 2, I'll have links down below to check that out. I know this video might get a little controversial, especially with how I compare certain devices, but realistically, for a HomeLab user, especially when it comes down to cost, I think the ZimaBoard 2 right now is going to win a lot of people over. It comes in much cheaper, and it's going to be a lot easier to operate in the long term. As always, I want to thank you all for watching. I have links to everything in my HomeLab down below if you're ever interested in checking any of it out. I'll have a link to the Discord server if you're interested in joining. Again, I want to thank Ice Whale for sending me over the equipment to work with for today's video. I'll see you in the next video, and as my buddy Don would say, heck till it hurts.